Deemed, rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Is Joe Biden Xi Jinping's, I can't say the word, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Guys, don't fall for the distraction. The distraction is, or the latest distraction when it comes to these classified documents is Mike Pence. Here's the prevailing narrative. Here's what everyone is talking about. Here's what everyone wants you to believe. Okay, all of these people do it. That's the conclusion I'm sure that many of you are coming to. All of these people do it. Mike Pence does it. There's some arguments that Mike Pence did it, purposely in order to kind of nullify the threat against Biden. And then you had Trump coming out and defending Mike Pence, saying he wouldn't do anything dishonest in his life, so on, etc. But the prevailing narrative, even from conservative media, is listen. Okay. And even you hear, I've even heard left wing, host on television shows say, oh, okay, so here's the thing. Mike Pence did it. Joe Biden did it. Trump did it. Clean slate. Now they're asking for Biden's classified. Guys, the further this goes, the more I'm disinterested in who has classified documents. But here's where I don't want there to be any confusion. Here's where I don't want there to be any conflation whatsoever. There's a such thing. There's a such thing called the Logan Act. And oh my God, I was just looking it up and I've been doing so much work for you guys that I forgot to stay on it. All right. So the Logan Act, this is what I want you to remember. The Logan Act was enacted on January 30th of 1799. 1799. This is a United States federal law that criminalizes negotiation by unauthorized American citizens with foreign governments having a dispute with the United States. Okay, so that's what I want you to remember. You guys might recall that Joe Biden, when it came to Donald Trump, when it came to the Russia collusion hoax, which I'm going to have to go back through, but just very briefly, he said, you know what? He told I can't remember whom it was, but you know what? We could use this Logan Act against Donald Trump with the whole Russia collusion narrative. All right. So now we find out there was a double agent working against Trump. I'm going to get into that. I didn't talk about that yesterday, but I want to bring all of this stuff together. And then I want to illustrate why China is the top dog. China is the top dog. So again, I'm asking this question. The question that I'm asking you is Joe Biden Xi Jinping's B word? Is Joe Biden Xi Jinping's B TCH? That's the question that needs to be asked, because you know who wins in all of this? China. China wins with all of this. Do not pay attention. I'm saying this yet again. Do not pay attention. Do not be distracted by the latest news. Oh, Mike Pence has documents too. That is a distraction. The argument is, and what the left or the mainstream media should say, because it's on both sides, what they want you to believe now, and which could be true. Everybody does this, right? Everybody does this. Vice presidents, presidents, they all walk out of the White House with classified documents of some sort. And it's probably true. It seems like it's true, right? That's not where you should stay. There's a bigger issue at stake. Joe Biden is the only one that we know of that is guilty of using the classified documents to profit off of, even putting our nation at risk by doing business with our enemies. That's what you need to remember. Don't fall for anything else. Don't fall for these distractions. They are going to come at you at a furious pace. Don't fall for it. All right, now it's time to get our conservative cardio on. This is your daily dose of objective truth. All right, now it's time to get our conservative cardio on. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Okay, guys, so I set the premise. I want you to stay tuned because we are going to go through some conservative cardio. What I intend to prove, or what I hope to prove to you today, that the biggest threat still is China, and that Xi Jinping is essentially pimping out Joe Biden. This is essentially what's happening, and I'm going to do my best to make this to make the case for this today. But before I do that, I do want to remind you guys to please support my sponsors. First off, I want to talk to you about my new sponsor, 4patriots.com, the number 4patriots.com. A food shortage could be coming your way, even in the U.S. Experts wrote this as recently as July. Drought, inflation, and even new policies are pushing America's food supply to the brink. That's why survival foods are more important than ever. So you can create your stockpile of the best-selling 4 Patriot survival food kits. It's not ordinary food. We're talking about it lasting for 25 years, super survival food, hand-packed in a family-owned facility in the USA that provides 200 American jobs. Kits are compact, they're sturdy, they're water-resistant, they stack easily. They have different delicious breakfast meals, lunches, dinners, meals that are ready to go in 20 minutes. All you have to do is add water, add boiling water, simmer, and then serve. Right now, you can go to 4patriots.com. That's the number 4patriots.com. Use the promo code Carl. You'll get 10% off of your first purchase. This includes a 3-month survival kit. All right, you'll get a year-long guarantee plus free shipping on orders that are over $97. They're called 4 Patriots. All right, the number 4 Patriots, because a portion of every sale goes to benefit charities that are supporting some veterans and their families, or our veterans and their families. Go to 4patriots.com, the number 4patriots.com. Use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, for 10% off. That's 4Patriots, the number 4patriots.com. Use my name to get 10% off. That's 4patriots.com, promo code Carl. Start building your stockpile today. And now, MyPillow. Guys, you guys know what a Patriot Mike Lindell is. MyPillow.com. Right now, he has an exclusive offer for my listeners. You get six-piece towel set for only $39.98 when you go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener square at the top of the page, all right? Just put in my name, C-A-R-L, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. American-made products, American-made jobs, and finally, towels that work and actually dry you. They are the only towels I use. I am not lying to you. All right, guys, MyPillow.com. All right, now, let's get into the nitty gritty. Is Joe Biden, that is the question, is Joe Biden Xi Jinping's B? That's the question we need to ask. And I'm going to try to tie all of this stuff in together with the Russia collusion hoax, with this guy that was recently arrested, this double agent. What is his name? McGonigal. That was Charles McGonigal, that worked as a double agent and that was arrested. There's a fabulous column from the Daily Signal. Do Chinese donations explain Biden's energy policies? Paul Sperry had written in a book quite some time ago about some of the revelations, or at least some columns on the Russia collusion hoax. I'm going to show you how in some of these FOIA requests and documents, how the FBI used some of the very language that was let me just say this. He presents source documents illustrating ways the Bureau repeatedly parroted the discredited. Okay, so the FBI used the Steele Dossier to basically get permission from the FISA courts to spy on Donald Trump. All of this stuff ties in together. Guys, there's a serious threat that exists in the White House, a national security threat, and his name is oh my God. His name is Joe Biden. Now, I will say this. Donald Trump was a threat to the deep state, big time. And I will illustrate that as well. That's why they cannot stand him to this day. And I got to be honest with you guys. Guys, I intended to have a different show altogether for you. I was going to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. I hadn't spoken about her this week. You guys heard the news. She has given her first interview from behind the jail bars. So I intended to talk to you about her. And Jeffrey Epstein as well. Just go over that because, new information, or actually, I should say there was some new excitement about Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein after she gave this interview, I believe, to the BBC or some type of UK news network of sorts. So there was a lot of excitement about her. People have been talking about that relentlessly, and I wanted to do so, and I wanted to add my 2 cents. I do have this theory when it comes to that. I'll mention this, and again, I intend to talk about this perhaps tomorrow, but I do have this theory going in my head that there's so much more to the Ghislaine Maxwell story. I've got a feeling that the reason Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, and I do believe he was murdered, how convenient that the officers, the correctional officers that were watching Jeffrey Epstein's cell when he allegedly committed suicide by hanging himself, it's pretty amazing that they fell asleep at the same time. It's pretty amazing that they were only 15 feet away. So I do believe, in my personal opinion, I do believe that the guy was murdered. And so the question, if he was murdered, the question is why. I think Jeffrey Epstein, I was going to say Jeffrey Dahmer. I think Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, in my opinion, because he was a threat to global elites. Now, I said global elites on purpose, not American elites exclusively, but global elites. I got a feeling that Jeffrey Epstein had so much dirt on all of these people associated with the World Economic Forum that they had to take him out. That's just a theory that I have. And I got to tell you, Ghislaine Maxwell, I would rather... This is hard to say because I really want to know. I really want to know everything that she knew. I know what the media said. I know she went through court. I know that she was convicted. I want to hear stuff from her own mouth. We were deprived of that. I really did want to hear that. I want to know everything that she knows. I want to know his client list. I want to know the big dogs. I want to know who she's taking the fall for. That's who I want to know. All right, so we'll get into that on another day. Gavin Newsom, this guy comes out and basically says the Second Amendment is a suicide pact. What a complete and utter moron. But I have no doubt that the Democrat Party would be willing to vote for this guy. Many would if he were to, in fact, replace Joe Biden as the nominee. Here's what you should know. Despite having the strictest gun laws on the books, you had California experience 2 mass shootings in just the last few days. It's been absolutely insane. Strictest gun control laws in the nation. They account, ironically, for 14%. Remember, 50 states, California accounts for 14% of all mass shootings in the United States, despite having the strictest gun laws on the books. So that might tell you, behind Texas. So that might tell you that perhaps the strict gun control laws are not working, are not doing the job. And then there's this other story that I intended to talk about, but I won't get into today. But Pope Benedict speaks from the grave. I mean, he criticizes the Catholic Church in this sense, or some of the things that he felt went wrong or awry in the Catholic Church, going back to the 1960 sexual revolution, where basically he seemed to imply, and I'll get into this again on another day, perhaps tomorrow, that many of the or some of the parishioners, if you will, priests were just they get caught into pornography. Some went into started going into gay clubs, and then you got a lot of the pedophilia that went on as a result. So it sounds like Pope Benedict spilled the beans. He talked about some of the things that he was frustrated with. And so I will get into that because I think Pope Benedict was a good man. I wish he would have remained the Pope after John Paul II. He was very steeped in theology. I know he got a bad rap with all the pedophilia, but he put a lot of things in motion when it comes to the pedophilia that Pope Francis, in my opinion, takes credit for today. But that's a topic for another day. I want to get back to this issue with Joe Biden because this is a big threat. Basically, here's what you need to know. The United States has been pimped out thanks to Joe Biden. And all of this stuff is starting to come into focus. And what the media would like you to do is to buy into this narrative. Yes. And listen, I want to be clear. I want to be clear. I'm not saying that there isn't truth to this narrative. And that is, okay, Mike Pence has classified documents. Okay, Donald Trump had some classified documents. Okay, Joe Biden has some classified documents. Okay, we know Obama has classified documents because he's not answering the phone calls. Okay, all of these guys do it. So this is normative. This is a wash, all right? We don't need to talk about this. No. There's a major difference. Maybe Obama does. He was president. Maybe Trump did. He was president, even though they lied about nuclear threat and all this kind of stuff. Vice Pence did inadvertently. He apparently they packed some of his boxes away. He had a couple of boxes, I guess, of documents stored at his house inside of Indiana. But Joe Biden goes back. His corruption goes back to his Senate days. We are finding out, and he was a senator for quite some time. And also, he was making money off of his son, with nations that were not our allies, and he did not register as a foreign agent. So he would be violating the Logan Act that I spoke to you about earlier. And he's the one that basically told the FBI the way to go after Donald Trump, is to use the Logan Act, when in fact it is he that is guilty of that. So I want to get through this, and I want to prove to you that Joe Biden is Xi Jinping's B. But first, let's start off with some of the news, just recapping some of the news that we found out about this guy, McGonigal. All right, so Hat Tip Newsweek. So he's a former FBI official with ties to the Russia collusion hoax that was linked to Donald Trump's 2016 election campaign. And now he's been charged with providing services to a sanctioned Russian oligarch. So Charles McGonigal, 54 years of age, the former head of counterintelligence. Isn't that crazy? For the FBI's New York office, accused of secretly working with the Russian billionaire Oleg Deripaska, including attempting to have him removed from the U.S. sanctions list in 2019. All right, so McGonigal is accused of secretly working with a Russian billionaire and has ties with the investigation into Trump's 2016 election. This was the guy that spearheaded it. So McGonigal, along with Sergei Shestakov, I hope I got that name right, a former Soviet and Russian diplomat who later became a U.S. citizen, and a Russian interpreter for courts and government offices. Wow. For our courts and government offices, has also been charged with allegedly being paid by Deripaska, that's the Russian oligarch, to investigate a rival oligarch and then attempting to conceal the payments. So during his time in the FBI, McGonigal participated in investigations of Russian oligarchs, including Deripaska. The guy was on the tape. It's as simple as that. The guy was on the take. He was also one of the key figures who helped trigger the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into President Trump. All right. Talking about Trump colluded with Russia. It's amazing. It's amazing. This is the guy that helped trigger the special counsel, and he's on the take. He's a double agent. He's a double agent. All right, so what do you want to bet? That he had nothing to worry about, and he knew it. What do you want to bet? That the deep state is so corrupt, and I would dare to say Hillary Clinton with her server, Joe Biden, they knew, you can't tell me that the DOJ and the FBI, even with James Comey, you can't tell me they did not know what was going on with Joe Biden. If so, close up shop today, or if not, close up shop today. I got a feeling this guy, McGonigal, he wasn't concerned being a double agent, per se, if Hillary got in. He wasn't concerned if Joe Biden were to get in. Why? Because they had dirt on them. The DOJ had dirt on Hillary. The DOJ had dirt on Joe Biden. They didn't have dirt on Donald Trump, so they had to create it. So McGonigal, while serving as chief of the cybercrime section at the FBI headquarters in D.C., was among the first FBI officials to be made aware of allegations that George Papadopoulos, you guys remember him, a 2016 campaign advisor to Trump, and not an important one, All right. You guys might remember this story of George Papadopoulos traveled somewhere overseas. The FBI tried to set him up with a pretty lady. He knew that something was wrong. He didn't take the bait. Nonetheless, they went after him, boasted, and Papadopoulos said that he knew, I guess, Russians and had political dirt on Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton. And basically the FBI went after him. This information led to the FBI launching Crossfire Hurricane. So they set all of this stuff up in order to go after Donald Trump. Meanwhile, it was these dirtbags that were scheming with Russians. McGonigal specifically. So the FBI launched Crossfire Hurricane, which would examine whether Trump officials had been coordinating, quote, wittingly or unwittingly with Russia's attempts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. Meanwhile, these fools were making everything up and caking this stuff up in order to interfere in the 2016 elections. And they were on the tape. In September 2020, FBI Deputy Assistant Director, a guy by the name of Jonathan Moffa, said during a Senate Judiciary Committee questioning, he received an email in July of 2016 from McGonigal, from the double agent, all right, about Papadopoulos that contained, quote, essentially that reporting, which then served as the basis for the opening of the case, close quote. That sounds a little weird and convoluted, but that is the quote that I'm reading verbatim. So this guy, McGonigal, was setting up Papadopoulos, setting up Donald Trump for this whole Russia collusion narrative, while this guy had literally advocated to take this oligarch, Deripaska, off of the sanction list, off of the Russian sanction list, and was on the payroll for this guy, a double agent. In 2017, the FBI's work was taken over by special counsel Robert Mueller as part of his expansive probe into Trump's campaign ties with Russia. In 2019, that was when Mueller determined that there was no evidence that the Trump campaign criminally worked with Russia at all to help interfere in the election, but detailed several examples of the former president allegedly attempting to obstruct the investigation. And yes, I would try to obstruct an investigation when I know that the deep state was completely lying. Understand that Trump knew a lot of this information that he could not share. And then they arrested a lot of Trump's inner circle because they wanted the veneer. They wanted the image. They wanted a narrative that it was Trump that did collude, that he had a lot of people working with him that were totally corrupt. Papadopoulos was jailed in 2018 for 12 days after admitting lying to the FBI. And when I say admit lying, hey, what color shirt were you wearing that day? It was something so trivial, but this is what the FBI does because they've become so corrupt. Deripaska was also a client of Paul Manafort. Now, Newsweek wanted to mention this because, again, they want the Mike Pence feel. All right, see, Deripaska, this guy was associated with Paul Manafort. As far as I know, Paul Manafort did not violate the Logan Act. I think he was a registered agent, but apparently they got him on tax and bank fraud charges. He had lied on, I can't recall, or at least they said he lied. I don't know if it was on real estate papers or something to that effect. I can't really remember. Something to do with how much money he spent on items. It was something crazy and convoluted, something that only the FBI and DOJ would be able to get with. But again, the difference is, and I could be correct, I could be wrong, Paul Manafort was at least registered as a federal agent when he was helping out, helping consult in places like Ukraine and so on, etc. So Donald Trump went after this guy, McGonigal. Here's what he said. The FBI guy after me for the Russia hoax long before my election as president was just arrested for taking money from Russia. May he rot in hell. Now, listen, I pray for the guy's salvation, but Trump is absolutely right. And that this guy had set out to destroy Trump from the get-go, before he was even elected. And it was Joe Biden who suggested using the Logan Act to go after Donald Trump. Joe Biden did that. We forget about that stuff. McGonigal and Sheftikov have both been charged with one count of conspiring to violate and evade U.S. sanctions in violation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Man, that is a mouthful. One count of violating that act, IEEPA, one count of conspiring to commit money laundering, and one count of money laundering. Shestakov is also charged with an additional one count of making false statements. As alleged, Charles Monaco, a former high-level FBI official, and Sergei Shestakov, a court interpreter, violated U.S. sanctions by agreeing to provide services to Oleg Deripaska, a sanctioned Russian oligarch. This from U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. That's what he said in the statement. They both previously worked with Deripaska to attempt to have his sanctions removed, and as public servants, they should have known better. I would argue this, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams, they did know better. And I think we should be suspect of anyone that would ask to have sanctions removed for a Russian oligarch. Does not make sense. Does not, at least an FBI or a DOJ agent, it does not make sense to me. Now, hat tip, real clear investigations. Paul Sperry shows that new revelations, and this was in December of 2024. So I'm going back a little bit, but this was a very fascinating column that caught my eye. He presents source documents, Paul Sperry does, illustrating ways the Bureau repeatedly, speaking of the FBI, parroted the discredited Steele Dossier verbatim in its efforts to win court approval to spy on the Trump campaign. And here's what Paul Sperry reported. All right, so again, you have the FBI using the debunked Steele Dossier to get a FISA warrant. All right. Now, so here's what he says. A close examination of all 4 FISA applications shows FBI investigators lifted dozens of key phrases from the dossier, practically some entire sentences, and included them in their sworn affidavits. These guys, you can't tell me these guys weren't used to doing this. They did so without putting key phrases like, quote, a well-developed conspiracy, quote, in quotations. So they didn't put that in quotations, right? Or even attributing them to the dossier, which they knew was political opposition research under Hillary Clinton's campaign. Number 3, the FBI portrayed all of the unverified dossier rumors cited in the affidavits as sound, quote unquote, intelligence. It swore that, quote, the FBI has learned, close quote, that Trump campaign advisor Carter Page had secretly met with sanctioned Kremlin officials in Moscow, even though the allegation came from Steele's DC-based collector, Igor Danchenko. Danchenko admitted to the FBI in January 2017 that his input was just, quote, unquote, hearsay gathered from conversation with friends over beer, quote unquote. Nonetheless, the FBI used this information to get FISA warrants to spy against Donald Trump because all the underlying, going back to the column, information was false. What the FBI told the court that it assesses, quote unquote, to be true about Trump-Russia conspiracy turned out to be completely false. In short, the FBI fabricated conclusions from fabrications. They fabricated conclusions from fabrications and turned them in as sworn oaths to the FISA court. Man, heads should roll. Now, Carl, what does China have to do with this? What does China have to do with this? I'm glad you asked. Guys, Joe Biden is compromised. Joe Biden is compromised. The left knows it. They want to get rid of him for political reasons, but they know that he's compromised, and they know that that he's been compromised all along. The question is, who's controlling the puppet strings? I was sitting there thinking the George Soros types, World Economic Forum, these people, these lefties want to feel virtuous and get rich at the same time. They want to be global elites. And then I ran across this article, and it all goes back to China. China is still America's biggest threat, and Joe Biden is completely compromised. Oh, and by the way, Senator Ted Cruz mentioned that, man, we need to check out the University of Delaware. Does Joe Biden have some classified information, classified documents at the University of Delaware? I hope there will be follow-up on that. Hat-tip Daily Signal. With reports that classified documents were found at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement at the University of Pennsylvania, questions arise about the potential connection between the university's receipt of 54 million buckaroonies in Chinese donations and President Joe Biden's promotion of energy policies that are strengthening China's economy at the expense of America's. So Joe Biden's policies are strengthening China's economy and they're weakening America's economy. Who's in charge? I want to know, what dirt does China have on Biden and his family that they're absolutely terrified will be exposed? What dirt? See, this classified information, this Logan Act. And again, let me just read this to you real quick. The Logan Act. This was a statutory that was enacted on January 30th, 1799. It's a United States federal law that criminalizes negotiation by unauthorized American citizens with foreign governments having a dispute with the United States. Can you say that China is an enemy of the United States of America? They are. They are. If you don't know, they are. So what dirt do they have on Joe Biden? Do you think China has not been benefiting from? Who benefits the most? Who benefits the most? Yes, I know World Economic Forum, BlackRock, all these people. We'll get into that. I know they benefit. Who benefits the most of everything that's happening with the collapse of America? Who benefits the most with a demented stoogie inside of the White House? China does. What dirt do they have on him? Under Biden's anti-fossil fuel energy policies, Americans have been left with a higher cost. We have a weaker economy, but China has gained a larger market for its green energy, including wind turbines, solar panels, and electric vehicle batteries. What do they have? What does China have on Biden? What did McGonigal have on Biden? That this information, that he wanted to destroy Trump. I think this is all tied up. I think he wanted to destroy Trump. I think the deep state wanted to destroy Trump because he was essentially clean. They're like, this guy is a businessman. This guy's worked with the left. This guy's worked with the right. This guy has to be corrupt because they think people in the real world are corrupt. People that work real jobs are corrupt. There's no self-awareness when it comes to, in my opinion, government officials oftentimes. So they think the real people that work in the real world are the ones that are corrupt. And then they find out, oh my God, this guy isn't corrupt. What can we make up? Because if this guy gets in, he doesn't have anything. He's not corrupt. We don't have any dirt on him. We can't leverage this president. We can't leverage him. But they can leverage Biden. They could leverage Hillary Clinton. So America gets weak while China gets stronger. What dirt does China have on Joe Biden? Could the money and policies be related? This should be an obvious question, right? But many people in the media don't seem to be asking it. The New York Post reported that tens of millions in donations to the UPenn came from Chinese donors after the Penn Biden Center was first announced in 2017. All right, so they announced that a bunch of money floods in. Between 2017 and 2019, Biden received $775,000 from the university, despite the fact he had no responsibilities there. $775,000. That's not a bad payday, right? Around the same time, Hunter Biden was conducting lucrative deals in China that are alleged to have included a cut for the big guy, a 10% cut for the big guy. The National Legal and Policy Center filed a complaint with the Justice Department back in 2020, during Trump's administration, alleging that Hunter Biden's Chinese energy client, CEFC, that's the major electrical company, whatever, out there in China, was trying to avoid registering as a foreign company. So you get this? This fool was doing deals. Hunter Biden was going around working with our adversaries, working with the Ukraine, corruption there. Ukraine, not an adversary, but working with Ukraine, getting that job at Burisma, getting a buttload, having to give the big guy a cut. for giving him or getting him that job, but he was also doing dirt with our enemies, violating the Logan Act, and he's not registered as a foreign agent. So don't give me this crap that what Mike Pence did is, all of this stuff is small. Mike Pence, Joe Biden, Trump, Obama probably they're all doing it. Yeah, they probably all have some classified documents. Okay, got it. But they did not use the classified documents and leverage their power to get rich from our enemies. I'm not a fan of Barack Obama, but as far as I know, he didn't leverage his power to get rich from our adversaries. He's leveraging his power and prestige to get rich right here in the United States, right? Netflix deals, so on, etc. But as far as I know, he didn't use his power to get rich from China and different enemies around the world. It appears Joe Biden did. It appears that he used his son, and they did not register. They are the ones that violated this obscure 1799 Logan Act. And there we have the media. Mike Pence. Mike Pence is a distraction. Don't fall for this crap. Don't fall for it. Every time a headline comes out, and I have to caution myself with this, every time a headline comes out, I have to start asking, what's behind it? Why? Why is it coming out now? That should be a very important question for all of us. Why? One reported text message regarding CEFC, that's the Chinese big electric company, power company out there, was to Hunter Biden to Tony Bobulinski. This was a text. Here's what he stated on the text to Bobulinski. We don't want to have to register as foreign agents. Ding, 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 ding. Which is much more expansive than people who should know choose, listen to that, choose not to know. I wonder if McGonigal knew that. Hey, McGonigal, hey, yeah, I'm in the FBI. Yeah, I'm throwing Trump under the bus. Hillary or Joe Biden can eventually become president. I have so much dirt on them because I choose not to know that Biden and his son and his brother are so freaking corrupt, they can't say jack to me or I will drop dime. The Chinese donations seem to be paying off. The writer, the Daily Signal says, by the way, it was a fabulous column. Got to give a hat tip to Daily Signal by Diana, and I cannot pronounce your middle name, Roth. All right, Fergal Roth, I believe it's pronounced. The Chinese donations are paying off. The Biden administration is following California's lead with a goal to transition to sales of cars that are only run by electrical batteries by 2035. Who benefits from that? Who's the puppet? I'm telling you, Xi Jinping is pimping out Joe Biden. If they were in a cell together, Gabe, you should get this part. If they were in a jail cell together, Joe Biden and Xi Jinping in a jail cell together, I contend that Xi Jinping's name would be, or his nickname would be Bubba, because he is pimping out his little B, Joe Biden. That's exactly what's happening. With all of this chaos, who wins in the end? On the macro level, who wins in the end? China. It's freaking insane, man. It is freaking insane. Oh, this stuff just gets my blood boiling. Forgive me. I want to save this country. We have the most corrupt president in American history sitting in that White House. The California Air Resources Board has issued a rule that all new vehicles sold in the Golden State be plug-in hybrid or pure battery powered by 2035. In Washington, Biden issued an edict or executive order calling for half of the nation's new vehicles to be electric by 2030. and instructed the head of the EPA to coordinate the agency's activities with the state of California. The rule and executive order trade America's energy security and its reliance on inexpensive domestically produced oil and natural gas for dependence on batteries that are made in China. Who's pimping out Joe Biden? Xi Jinping. Reportedly with slave labor in the Xinjiang region. They don't care about that. See, they have too much dirt on these people. These globalists, the Joe Bidens of the world, these people are corrupt as all get out. And that's why the FBI and the DOJ, how many more McGonigals exist inside of the FBI or the DOJ that are just absolutely corrupted to the core, but they have so much dirt. They have so much dirt on our political leaders. We think we're running the show. We still think this is a government of, for, and by the people, but it's not. We have an administrative state that is running the show. God, I'm preaching so good today. Not even in church, Gabe, but I'm preaching pretty good. All right, but that's what we have. Joe Biden is being pimped out. Joe Biden is Xi Jinping's little b. Xi Jinping's little b, because they all know how dirty and corrupt Biden is. They all know. All the world leaders know. They know. Trust me. They know. All right. So we get dependent on batteries, electrical batteries from China. Electrical vehicles have limited range and more expensive than equivalent gasoline powered vehicles, the columnist writes. So the orders emanating from the White House will raise the cost of transportation for Americans like you and I. And further weaken the U.S. economy. And obviously, the more money that we spend on our cars means less money we have to spend on other things, thus, again, weakening the economy and prohibits our ability to provide or to buy other products and or services. Now, climate change. Over the last year, executive branch agencies have used climate change to justify slowing the production and delivery of U.S. oil and natural gas and coal. All right, so this sounds great for all of you global warming people out there. Yes, Biden is doing a great thing. And he wants to encourage, the use of wind turbines, solar panels, but they're all made in China. So this drives up Americans' electricity bills. All right, well, that's okay. If we have to pay a little more for a clean environment, then we'll do so, Carl. No problem here. I'm sorry, you just fell flat on making your point that Joe Biden is Xi Jinping's B. Well, I'm not finished yet, so let me continue. And once again, it's the Chinese who profit. Listen to this. 7 of the top 10 wind and solar manufacturers are Chinese. 7 of the top 10 wind and solar manufacturers are Chinese. Well, Carl, why does that matter? I mean, we're cleaning up the planet, right? No, not at all. Not at all. I'll get to some of the numbers quickly here. All right, so now, more specifically, here's what the administration has done. Actively discourage investment in oil, gas, and coal, that such investments pose a risk to the environment. Companies producing and relying on conventional fuels are finding it harder to get capital and expand because they face higher rates to borrow. So they can't do that. Meanwhile, I got to tell you, when you're digging for the material that is utilized in EV batteries, you are destroying the planet far more than any ICE engine, internal combustion engine. The Department of Transportation, listen to this. All of these departments are circumventing the will of the people and doing China's bidding, thanks to Joe Biden. The Department of Transportation is prioritizing climate initiatives such as funding for electrical vehicles, charging stations, and electric transit. We've all heard about this with Pete Buttigieg in office, as well as bike pedestrian pass. And so we think these people are virtuous. We think that even though we disagree with these people, they're virtuous. No, they want to be elites. But the problem is these elites will be run by China because China is the one that overwhelmingly produces all of the materials we need for this green investment they want. And China is dirty as all get out when it comes to pollutants. The Federal Energy Regulation Commission. These are all the people that are working for China now. is slowing the approval of new pipelines to carry oil and gas from the interior of the United States of America to consumers all across the nation and on both coasts where it can be exported. The Interior Department has called for fewer leases for companies to drill for oil and gas on federal lands. You see how they do this? Get used to this bureaucratic state. Get used to this administrative state. And we're transitioning to this administrative state. We've got this corrupt guy in office. He's doing the bidding for China. He's doing the bidding for China because he has no choice. They've given him so much money. They've got so much dirt on this idiot that what can he do but do their bidding? What can he do but do their bidding? Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler, this is another one of our institutions that are being run, in my opinion, by the Chinese, has proposed rules to require private companies to disclose information about governance and management of climate-related risks, how climate-related risks will affect companies' strategies and outlooks, and the effects of climate events such as hurricanes and wildfires on financial statements. Again, you think that the left and that Joe Biden is doing this stuff because he wants to be virtuous and because he wants to clean up the planet. No, he's doing this stuff because he's leveraged by China. He's leveraged by China. And McGonigal knew that. But he's dirty, so he's not going to rat him out. I do wonder who leaked on Joe Biden. Aren't you wondering who was the leaker? Who told CBS, hey, we got some dirt on Joe Biden. Here's where you can start finding some information. I really want to know that. Very important. ESG, the ESG movement, led by BlackRock, Inc. and State Street Global Advisors. So you got major financial institutions are pressuring international development organizations, private corporations, you've heard of them, and pension funds not to invest in conventional fuels. By the way, I found out that I had some investments with BlackRock. I've made sure that I divested. I encourage you to do the same. All right, just call your financial advisor. They can make it happen. This weakens America, which obviously produces fuel, and helps China, which manufactures all of the alternative renewable energies, wind, solar. All right, so BlackRock, they're against us. State Street Global, they're against us. ESG means fewer jobs for Americans, more jobs for China. That's what you need to know. ESG means more jobs for China and fewer jobs for Americans. A woman by the name of Jessica Anderson at the Heritage Foundation wrote, and I quote, "The ESG movement is set on taking over culture and business to control working Americans." That's all it is. It's set on taking over culture and business to control working Americans. That's all ESG is. More power for China, less China, or more power for China, less power for you. On its website, here's what State Street said. It suggests 4 ways to influence companies' investments, all of which would benefit China. First, require countries to adopt regulations to reduce carbon emissions. Second, raise consciousness of climate through more ESG education, guidance, solutions, and analytics. Third, take over corporate boards and use customers and investors to compel companies and organizations to address climate risks and opportunities. Finally, organize global pledges to cut fossil fuel carbon emissions to net zero by 2050. All this is going to benefit China. And this is all the stuff that Joe Biden wants to do. How much did he get at the UPenn Biden Center? Was it 54 million? Is that how much they donated there for Biden to sell out America? By following the ESG movement, the column says, in discouraging investments in conventional fuels, America is giving up geopolitical power overseas as well as economic strength right here at home. For example, China is financing the production of coal-fired, coal-fired power plants. Can't get it out. So all of you greenies that think that they're making this world green, they're not making this world green. They're making you subservient to the great red China. They're not making the planet green. Grow the hell up. China is financing the production of coal-fired power plants in developing countries that American institutions refuse to fund, giving the Chinese significant influence as it helps those countries provide cheap power to homes and industry. Joe Biden is China's little B. Some might justify these gifts to China on the grounds that the world's climate will benefit from lower emissions as a result of U.S. decarbonization. But China is producing wind turbines, solar panels, and batteries it sells to the U.S. with coal increasing global emissions. Here's what you need to know. Here's a stat for you, all you little greenies out there that are buying into this lie. Consider that America has 225 coal-fired power plants. America has 225. You guys can't stand the fact that we're not green. You want net zero emissions. You want to follow China's model because you want the world to be green, the planet to be green, even though China is dirty as all get out. We have 225. You guys are pissed. China has 1,118 coal-fired power plants. So if you're wonder why Biden is propping up an industry in a country that is promoting the greening of the United States of America despite not going green, if you wonder why Gavin Newsom, who knows what they have on him, is propping this stuff up, despite the fact that China enslaves people, despite the fact that they steal our intellectual property rights, despite the fact that they're a threat to the United States and our power and our dominance, maybe it's simply because Joe Biden is Xi Jinping's B. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please be sure to subscribe wherever you go to get your podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. We would really like to see those YouTube numbers grow. If you would subscribe there, we really would appreciate it. Or just go to The Carl Jackson Show on YouTube, The Carl Jackson Show on Rumble. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Getter, Facebook, you name it. We would really love to grow on Instagram, Twitter. We're on Truth Social. We're on Getter, wherever you are. Find us there. And don't forget our sponsors, MyPillow.com, American Jobs, American Manufacturing, a great night's sleep. And right now, 6-piece towel set for only $39.98 when you use that promo code Carl. Not only will you get great towels, not only will you get great products that help you sleep, great products that will help you walk better, feel better when you're walking. They got great slippers there as well. But you're going to be providing American jobs, American paychecks, people that can pay their bills. So please support them. The same is true for Patriots. Guys, inflation is here. Listen, we have it looks like we're going to have a recession. So there's a looming recession. Just be prepared. You don't know what will come. You don't know what natural disasters might come your way. Just be prepared. And I would suggest you go to forpatriots.com. Take advantage of this deal. Just use my name. You'll get 10% off of your first purchase, including a 3-month survival kit that's available. And then you'll get a year-long guarantee plus free shipping on orders that are over 97 buckaroonies. So go to 4Patriots. That's the number 4Patriots.com. Use the promo code Carl. Guys, until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.